feel sickened and saddened that this rapist is walking free right now, because every minute that he's not in prison is a minute that he could hurt another woman.
Seething anger from a rape survivor after her attacker is set free. It's a case that exposes the flaws in how we prosecute sexual assaults. And a warning here, the details in this case are disturbing. Matthew Leonard Werner agreed to a plea deal in an L.A. courtroom today, receiving a 4-year suspended sentence. He has to complete a sex offender course, and he'll be added to the National Sex Offender Registry. But he's free. For the courageous woman who testified against him, she is furious and says this is not over. We call this exclusive story Jane Doe One and Only.
I'm Jane Doe One, but my real name is Shira Scott Astroff.
Courage. Sometimes it's so subtle, it's easy to overlook how important it is. The name Jane Doe One has been plastered on LA court documents in one case dating back to an incident on March 4th, 2015.
That night, 8 years ago, I was victimized in a way that I still can't really describe.
Shira Scott Astroff no longer wants to be the anonymous Jane Doe, nor be seen as a victim. She's a fighter, so fierce she even surprises herself. All from that moment, she was raped.
He dislocated my shoulder. I had choke marks. I had problems with my neck. I still have problems with my neck. I still remember the pain and the shock of it.
That was just the beginning of the attack. It all started when Astroff met a man on a dating app who said he was a professional soccer player, but that's not who showed up.
It was instead this monster, and when I turned my back, he attacked me from behind. When I realized in the hospital looking at his mugshot that this was just a stranger pretending to be this international soccer player, it added a whole new level of assault.
Those mugshots were Matthew Werner. Detectives say he was already under investigation for multiple sexual assaults against other women. And that's where the story becomes even more important. Because even though prosecutors say there were other accusers, Astroff is the only one willing to testify against him. But why?
I think... sorry, can I just have 1 second? I'm so sorry.
To better understand the terrifying dilemma of being a sexual assault survivor, I sat down with this woman who says she was attacked by a different suspect, and he remains a free man.
It's difficult, so sorry. Oh, God.
The anxiety is still overwhelming from when she says she was drugged and attacked.
My next memory is the next day waking up, shirt on, shorts off, and ran out of the house screaming.
She chose not to testify because of what she says detectives told her.
They warned me, unless he's done it before, unless somebody else comes forward, unless you have a witness, it is a he said, she said.
They're probably the most difficult cases to prosecute in the office, and that has to do with bringing victims into court.
Legal expert Josh Ritter is a former attorney for the LADA's office. He describes the horrible plight of being assaulted and then having to testify.
You're asking someone to come into court to talk about the most traumatizing, perhaps the most embarrassing, to testify in front of strangers. And by the way, you're going to be subject to rigorous cross-examination on that as well.
But in cases where there are multiple victims, if they do testify, it's a much stronger case, and it could bring the penalty to a whole new level.
That's where you get to these figures like 45 years to life or more, which is a very huge difference from a case like we're talking about today.
And that's what brings us back to Werner. Prosecutors say if the other accusers are willing to testify, Werner could be tried as a serial rapist.
The search continues for more victims.
Earlier this year, appeals went out to the public. A Jane Doe 2 did emerge willing to testify. Prosecutors say a case with 5 counts was built against Werner, but it fell apart when Jane Doe 2 suddenly backed out.
I know that a lot of them are terrified.
Today, Astroff is the only one fighting in court, not willing to wait any longer. In front of the cameras, the judge, and especially Matthew Werner, even though the courtroom camera doesn't reveal her face, her voice is heard.
You are a deceitful, disgusting, insecure, sociopathic, pathetic con man. You're a predator and you're a coward.
Afterwards, she makes one last appeal to Werner's other accusers.
He pled guilty. You will be believed. Now you can come forward and we can put him away. And I will be right beside you every step of the way. I promise.
It is our policy not to identify victims of sexual assault, but in this case, Shira reached out to us and asked us to share her story. And if any of Werner's other accusers are listening and do choose to testify, he could face another trial. If there are others who come forward, and there are multiple people who do come forward, he could face a serial sex offender charge and face a potential life in prison. Either way, though, right now, Werner is a free man.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC7 content by clicking the subscribe button for our YouTube channel and download the ABC7 Los Angeles streaming app on Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, and Roku to watch on your TV.